Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
That was, I did not know that we had that kind of a budget. Everybody like, oh, whoa, like that's
I'm
pretty amazing.
seriously, I'm hyped up, and that's a great way to like kick my morning off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, everybody, welcome to the first edition of Render ATL Live. Got my great friend over here, Paul. Paul has a lot to talk about today, and I truly love being on his social media platform. If you have not heard about it, you are going to hear about it by the end of this call. We're going to talk about it a ton. But Paul, great to have you here. Really, really want to just jump into like what made you think about social media as in we need to rebuild this. Like I don't think a ton of people know the story of Blue Sky and where it came from, how it got involved. Like
Yeah.
social media is such a daunting thing to like do, right?
Yeah. We honestly, first of all, awesome to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And you're asking a dangerous question because you're about to get like the whole backstory if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I mean, we started off really just as a smaller ambition in many ways than like the actual Blue Sky app. We didn't set out to make an app. We were actually created to make this technology for Twitter initially.
Mm-hmm.
But then things kind of happened with Twitter, right? And so we decided, okay, well, we made this technology, let's make an application. So the ambition kind of scaled over time. And yeah, it was like, if things hadn't gone the way they would that they did, I don't know if we would have gone this far into trying to build the entire application and run the whole thing, because it is a big chunk of work. But back to your basic question about like why though, is the thing that all of us care about and that has had us working on this stuff for, everybody in that founding team had been working on it for like a decade prior, was this concern about there being a public commons on the internet, right? Like we all contribute to this place, we all work online, we're all creators, but the idea that the actual places that we do this are being run by just a couple of different companies really rubs us the wrong way. And so we really wanted to get to a point where that infrastructure and the money that gets made for running that commons can actually be run by everybody, that is actually something that gets distributed out, so that ownership and that wealth and that political capital also gets distributed out to everybody, right? Like we just don't want to live in a world where we are all sort of contractors to Meta, you know what I'm saying? And like society is moving in this direction constantly. Like there's nothing to say about it anymore because we've digested it. The internet is real life at this point. So if we're like making that investment, we got to be moving to a place where it's a good place to have a society. And, a society that is run on top of like 3 or 4 different corporations, that's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So something, yeah. So that's what kind of got us out of bed for this entire thing.
Wow. And I did not know it began because of X. Like I was like that. Well, Twitter.
It was X. Twitter. Yeah.
That is news to me. Like how did that even how did that conversation even begin to like say, hey, we should go contract over to Twitter?
It was such a wild story. So like I said, we had been working on this kind of stuff for a while. There was this whole decentralized internet movement that started around like 2010, right? There are all these projects that were working on it. At one point, the Internet Archive, which does like the Wayback Machine, started running these conferences for it, which was great. We all started to kind of meet each other. So there was a real community of people working on this, like how do we upgrade the internet kind of project. And then eventually, here's the chain of events. Mike Masnick writes a kind of position piece of paper on how like it should be protocols that are running social media, not platforms. So it's called Protocols, Not Platforms. Jack Dorsey sees that and he's like, that's a great idea. why don't we start this project called Bluesky that'll try to convert Twitter into this, they'll build it. It'll be a community project that builds this new internet infrastructure, and Twitter will move to it, right? And this was like some last days of Dorsey kind of stuff going on, where he eventually decided, okay, I'm going to actually allocate some money. And we're going to pay. We got set up as like a consultancy to Twitter to build this tech, right? And it was one of the last things that happened before he left, and he really set us up to get started initially, both with that initial capital, but also the initial kind of awareness of what we were doing. It was a lot of really key assets that we kind of, give a lot of credit to him for setting us up with. But then, eventually he kind of ended up going way more down the Bitcoin route. And we were like, that's not really what we're trying to do here. And so we didn't end up sticking with that, and instead built the app protocol, which is what eventually we created, which is kind of more inspired by the web. Actually, it's a simple way of thinking. It's like if you took the web and made it all data instead of like HTML. That was kind of how we did it. A lot of influence from peer-to-peer, which is another story. But then Twitter went through its thing, and they lost interest. The new Twitter X now just wasn't that interested in what we were doing. So we're like, okay, well, we made this tech, and we should go ahead and make like a reference implementation of it at least. So for a long time, we just called Bluesky the reference client of this new technology. But then people started signing up way, way faster than we expected. It was really kind of shocking. And then that just kind of went down. So then we became kind of a two things company, right? A technology company and the Bluesky social ad company. Yeah. And we've been sort of holding on to both of those, one in each hand ever since.
That's amazing, because it tells me that y'all were this close to becoming a block company, but y'all saw a bigger vision. Actually, we have our own thing that we want to do,
that's actually, you're right. We were actually, the more accurate point is that we were this close to being actually just a division inside of Twitter. That was initially how it was going to get set up. But Jay Graber, the founder of Bluesky, negotiated for it to be independent with like some of the most insane foresight of all time. She didn't know that anything was going to happen, but she had this kind of sense of like, I don't think it's safe. Like the project is safe inside of Twitter. I think it needs to be an independent thing, so that like the corporate kind of moves that end up happening over Twitter, whatever those may be, would end up being firewalled away. And she ended up being right within 4 months. Within 4 months of us starting was when it was
that close. Wow,
it was that close. It was oh man. The first year was really something else, because we started right at the beginning of like January 1st, 2022 was like when I first came in, and we did some work, but that's really when things got going, and for sure. And then within 4 months, our main client was going through, the acquisition offer went in around April, I think, somewhere around there. So it was well, that was quick, and then there was like 6 months of legal fights. Yeah.
No, like I know what an acquisition feels like. When I was at a MailChimp, and it was all peace and love and happiness, and then next thing you know, we got acquired by into it, and it was also fun too. But you had that long period, like 6 to 8 months, and it was just quiet. And you're like, okay, what's happening? What's going on? Who do I report to? Like, I remember at one point in time during the acquisition, I was a one-man band where I would just roll around a MailChimp and be like, hey, you have stuff that I could work on? If you got stuff that I could work on, I internally became as a mercenary for hire. Right. It was like, if like you got stuff to do, I will help you complete the task. And there's a ton of stuff around the MailChimp app to this day that I was like, yep, I completed that over there on just some one-off or one-man band things, because of how acquisitions and all those merger and acquisitions happen, where there's always some fallout in between of the acquisition happen, work is getting done, everybody else in between.
Oh yeah, you're in limbo for sure in that period, and because it could not happen, but it probably will, but it might not. Yeah. And I'm with you. I would be so itchy. Like I can't clock in and like do nothing.
Not do nothing. Yeah.
So Yeah.
Oh,
So I would have done the same.
yeah, and like on that topic of like not doing nothing, what are you
Yeah.
hyped for right now? And please do not say AI. I know everybody's like, oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
shit, man.
but of course, I already know you're gonna say AGI next, right? Okay. Buzzwords are killed. Call me a Buzz a Killington at this point. Okay.
Oh
What are you
man.
hyped for on the web or just on the world of tech? Like engineer to engineer. Let's talk about Moore's law. Let's talk about a turning law. Let's actually talk about things that are like really getting us up and excited every day.
All right. See, the thing is that, all right, this won't be my answer,
Okay.
but there are so we won't talk about this, but it's either my job or AI is actually like, so like at
Mhm.
Proto or AI, that's like all I'm focused on these days. Now,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
aside, I'm going to be inventive now. I'm going to think, what else gets me going?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the idea of personal computing in general is about to get an injection
It
because of
is.
other things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
But like the amount of interest that's starting to get generated again in having hardware that you run and having apps that are on your computer and stuff like that is like,
Mhm.
that's starting to get interesting to people again.
It
That
is.
gets me like actually super excited because that's the stuff that I feel like got lost in such a big way,
Mhm.
and this is, I mean, maybe this is just like millennial nostalgia cooking, but I think there's something to it, right? But like, I grew up like with the PC, on a desktop and making, not just like, I got into programming because of modding, you know what I mean? Like being able
Really?
to, oh yeah. Like Half-Life, the game had an SDK that was like C++, and there was like a tutorial
Oh
site for
my
like
God.
how to modify. Yeah, and I
Flashback.
was like, I loved Half-Life, so it was like, oh, this is so cool, like being able to get in
Yeah.
there and modify it, right? So like
Yeah.
the idea of like that is so connected to like the ethos of open source. That idea that you could crack it open and like change it for yourself, something that feels so received. Like you receive so much of media, of culture, of software and products, and like so something that like when you're young you love playing, for me, video games, and then suddenly discovering that this is not something that you receive hermetically sealed, but that like you can crack into it and actually change it, and that it's actually available to you. And that's what I am so excited about with like the idea of personal computing coming back, is getting back to a world where it's like less of a consumer mindset and getting back into a producer mindset. That's the stuff that gets me excited in general.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how every engineer I talk to usually has some kind of connection to a gaming. Whereas like I
Yeah.
began because of gaming. Like even my very first computer was a Mac. I forget the type of Mac, but it was the one with the multicolored Apple icon, the multicolored
Yeah.
Apple
Okay.
logo on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember my dad coming home with this Mac, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" He's like, "It's called a computer. Try it out. It's supposed to be the like a thing of the future." Crazy, right? And the
Right. Right.
only thing that we had was one game only, and the one game we had was the Oregon Trail.
I
And
knew you were going to say
I
that.
learned a ton about. I remember if you fast forward to like a sixth grade history class,
Yeah.
it was talking about the Oregon Trail. I'm like, oh man, I know all about dysentery. I know all about moving out west and
Crossing
everything
crossing
began.
the
And
rivers, you know
I
exactly how
always
to cross that river.
right. And now that's the thing. I failed on the glitch, which I had learned later on was you could not cross to finish the game. And I said, man, all these years later, I did not know that I was not the problem. It was the game. But it was the first thing that got me interested into computers. And
Yeah.
I then went on to actually starting to write code when I used to do MySpace themes back in the day. So
Right.
I give Tom from MySpace all the credit where I was like, yo, I had learned how to code because I wanted to be cool and I wanted to make my top 8 as customizable as
Yeah.
possible, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm equally excited for the PC revolution, and
Yeah.
I think the thing that gets me going right now is not just even the online world; it's the offline world too. IRL is coming back in full force, right?
Yeah.
And I want to see the not the like abomination of a URL or online events. But what I think is going to be cool is that we start doing things that we took for granted that have become dinosaurs, like LAN parties. It was a great combination of online meets offline, right?
Yeah,
Things like
yeah,
that, I am very excited to help lead that charge on. How do we bring in the human factor back into tech, right? How do we bring
yeah.
the online components and the online engineering into offline things, which is why I love doing a conference where it's a giant engineering problem, traffic control,
Oh yeah.
people. How do you get people from point A to point B? I think they call that in industrial engineering, right? I'm
Right.
joking. Yes, that's what they
Right.
call it, industrial engineering, right? But I absolutely I love uh, humans, and how do we merge both together, not on some crazy cyborg type way, but on a like impactful way that is a better for everybody.
I mean, I'm a little bit okay with becoming a cyborg too, but I'm with you
Yeah.
on the on liking people. If you're ever in Seattle, you need to come by the Internet Development Studio. The guy that runs that, Jimmy, it's a co-working space, and he is absolutely in that zone. He is organizing all kinds of events constantly over there. It's like right down in the market. It's a really nice vibe. So, tech
Mhm.
folks, non-tech folks, if you're coming by and there's an event in Dev, definitely stop by.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Any place that always gives people room to grow and room to learn is a place
Yeah,
that I always love going to visit. And I always
yeah,
love sending other people to go there too. And on that note,
yeah,
right, how do we want to encourage newer technologists, newest engineers, newest builders to get involved into becoming the future? Because growing up,
yeah,
as you know, tech was kind of not a single threaded, but it kind of was, right? It was like, okay, we got this thing called the PC. Everybody flocked on the PC want to be in tech, right? Then we
yeah,
had the hardware revolution. Everybody hopped on that. Then we had the internet. Everybody hopped on that. Now
yeah,
that the foundation is built, you could go do hardware, you could go do internet, you could go do software, you could do gaming, you could do. There's a ton of things that touch tech, and I
yeah,
often hear that our people are overwhelmed with where to even begin. How do you
yeah.
want to encourage those next generation of builders?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think like two things come to mind. The first is definitely invest in relationships for sure. Like
For
that's
sure.
something I probably undercounted as a young person. I had a real bad case of they like, oh, I just have to go make something amazing and I'll be all
Mhm.
set. You know, it's like eventually it took me way too long to realize like, oh no, you need to like know people and connect with people and
Exactly.
and things like that. So yeah, it's also a very fun experience. So, it's an easy advice to give. But the other thing is like right now, like, we are in another kind of change, but like the change mainly just ought to, okay, I'm going to have to say the words AI if I'm going to talk about
Go
it. I'm
ahead.
sorry, I have to
Go
say
ahead.
it. But like, it just kind of the thing you should do is just let your ambition scale with like what's going on, right? Like, because ultimately you should do side projects that previously prior to this moment would have seemed like out of reach,
Yeah.
so like go ahead and make that database, go ahead and make that programming language or your own video game, whatever that like ambition was previously where you're like, oh, that's like too technical for me. That
Yeah.
should never be your blocker. And the reason is, especially if you're just starting out, that's how you train, right?
Yes. A
That's how
failure.
you learn. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you do that, because like what still matters, and God knows maybe this won't, but even for that week that we, had Fable and we found out like what it could do, it's
Oh man.
still
Oh man.
we're
Uh,
not gonna this isn't a
Bring it
Fable
back,
conversation.
and topic. Bring
Bring
it
my boy
back. That was
back.
the ultimate rug pull. I was
Ah,
hype.
okay, well, we got to stay focused.
Yes.
Can't
Yes. Yes.
can't get into it. But no, yeah. But even with that, like the technical depth of knowledge is still something you got to bring. You still
Mhm.
got to know what you're trying to do. You still got to understand what it's trying to do and what trades it's making, and the space of like options and stuff like that. So like deep expertise matters more than it ever did, because the mechanics of the code, that's what's fallen away, which was, you know, in and of itself a great craft and very enjoyable. But like underneath that, there's like engineering and knowing about distributed systems, right? For instance, if that's kind of the specialty you want to go into, and it's like, okay, you got the basics of like how to make a lamp stack, kind of old school stuff, right? You Postgres and you put like a cache in front of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that, boy, we are really aging ourselves on this. But you know, okay.
About a lamp, let's talk about a flash. I'm joking.
Oh man, I mean, we should just bring it all back. Yeah, no, actually somebody's been playing with using Fable to generate videos, and I played with it a little bit, and it made something that looked exactly like Flash. I was like, oh, there's an opportunity here. I know who would be into this.
Yeah.
No, but okay, so like, yeah, you can like distributed systems, like there's it's a really wide field of like interesting stuff, like understanding like how what consensus algorithms are for like whenever you're running a cluster. It's a really complicated kind of study that, you know, you really can't just throw an AI at it. There are trade-offs that you got to make. There's deep correctness challenges. You got to understand how to put together deterministic simulation testing to do it. There's depth, and there remains to be depth. And like, that's what the job is going to be now, is really understanding what's going on behind the scenes and what the kind of underlying engineering is. And you can specialize into, honestly, I think a great way to do it, you can either pick a specialty and go deep on it. Maybe you want to be a security engineer. Maybe you want to be a great front end and get into like the animations and the, you know, the gestural interfaces or whatever it is that you choose. Or you could be a generalist, but like tap on each of these different domains, spend a little bit of time with them, so that whenever you sit down to a job, you actually are able to kind of fearlessly dive into whatever is needed. And the AI isn't going to replace that at this stage. So far as we can tell, you know, maybe we'll AGI it and then all advice is out the window. But until then, that's definitely what's showing up for us. Yeah. And the ambition, scaling your ambition with like what's up in front of us seems to be hugely rewarding. Like the stuff I'm getting to do now, because I have this, is like so cool. And like I'm just making your own database. I'm working on something on Foundation DB, which is kind of like a toolkit for making databases. And it's a level of ambition that previously is like, I would have needed like a year to work on this. There's no chance. It's one of those things that you knew how to do, but you just didn't have it. But now, like, I can make this like a 2.5 month project. I can actually do it. That's everybody now. Yeah. So like, do your thing. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I just the other day retooled RenderATL.com, looked at it and said, okay, we need to change this, hooked it up to a cursor, I blasted it like through it. It's been night and a day of difference, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I want to ask you a question, because we talked about an archaic, well, I don't know archaic, because most of the entire web runs on the LAMP protocol, right? I don't think people know that, but it does. Right. And I always ask when I meet other engineers who are also older, right? Do you think that AI can handle the oldest programming language that you know? And what is that language? Like, I am a fan, and please out there, or do not judge me, but I am a fan of a COBOL. I learned COBOL. I love COBOL. I enjoy writing COBOL. I have yet to feed AI COBOL, but I'm curious because of the fact that I was always told, if you know COBOL, you will always have a job, because of the fact that
right? But now,
but I also am like, okay, have we
tried it?
Trained the AI with the training of models on COBOL? And I also like, okay, have we trained the AI on like a Flash and like other archaic, and I hate to call it archaic, but languages that aren't used? So what is your oldest one that you know, and do you think AI could handle it?
I mean, well, first of all, it's going to be hard to beat COBOL. I don't think I ever went that far back.
Man.
yeah, exactly. I think I don't know if I'm going to have a super interesting answer to that with the like age side of it, but I could go with like sort of esoteric. I I do think, before I answer though, I do think that question is really interesting about how an agent would handle something like COBOL. Because yeah, I don't know either. And it's always actually, it's an interesting question. If you like wanted to invent your own programming language, how easily would the agent be able to figure out what it is? It's kind of the same question, and I've been really curious to know that. But back to your point, back to your question, I think my favorite language that's not super mainstream, it's not that obscure, but it's obscure enough, and that's Erlang, right?
Oh my God.
I love
Whoa.
Erlang.
Whoa.
Yeah. Erlang is cool as hell. Erlang had this like a lot of really cool ambitions to it, and a cool lineage. It comes from Datalog. So and I never really learned Datalog. Not Datalog, Prolog. I learned enough about Prolog to understand kind of how it works. If you want mind bending, like understanding how, like Prolog is a purely declarative, like logic language. The basic, it's like a constraint solver. It's designed where you like put in facts and it's able to infer new facts, right? So you say, like, the classic is like, A is the child of B, B is the child of C. Therefore, they can figure out that A is the grandchild of C, right? It's like building all these relations. And then, but the crazy thing is that you can make programs out of that, like, that like you could run from the command line. And the logic of like how time passes in that purely declarative system made my brain melt the first time I read about it. It was one of those things like, oh, that's so weird and cool. Would AI be able to handle that? Probably, actually. But then eventually, to continue, Erlang got built off of that. It's a distributed systems first language. The aspiration of it is along the lines of like, you're never going to need outside systems. Like, you're not going to need a Kafka, and you're not going to need, it even had some kind of baked in database. Yeah. Some of that, I was just posting about this the other day. Like, I'm fascinated to actually test that theory. But like, in theory, because it was built for telecom, it was meant to handle the entire Ericsson. I think Ericsson was the mobile company. It was built to run all of their like communications infrastructure. Had to be super reliable, had to have these pieces of code that could fail and restart easily. And it's super interesting. And so that's my like, it's not quite outdated. It's kept alive with Elixir, which is like a modernization of it.
Blast from the past. Oh my God.
Elixir's still going. Oh yeah, there's still shooters for Elixir.
Wow. Like the other day, I had talked to a young engineer talking to me about NPM, and then I was like, bro, you have no clue how easy you got it. I remember Bower. It was a Bower versus NPM versus what was the other one? It was three of them. It was three package managers battling out for a JS at the time. But I remember Bower and I remember NPM. We were going back and forth. Then you got Yarn, which is out there now.
Sure. Yeah.
Ooh, blast from the past, you just said.
Oh man, you're talking like early Node.js days when people
before.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with a coworker doing the pretentious JavaScript on the server. That's silly.
I remember, and then I'm gonna take us home. But I remember coming into work one day. I was probably like a whole month into my corporate job, and I was in the room, and we're talking to this dev who was like my team lead, and he was like, yeah, we could do all this using HTML and just plain JavaScript, and we could use Ajax, and we could use jQuery. And I'm like, bro, that's old school. What we got now is a thing called React.js, and it could do what's called RSC. And for those that don't know what that means at home, that is a React server components. And he was like, you know what? I'm out, Justin. And then I was like, wow, man. And he's like, you will understand one day that you've become the old guy in the room, and you no longer want to keep up anymore. And that's fine, but I'm out. And he said, but I'm telling you right now, everything that you're talking about, all this cool stuff, is just a rehash of everything that had used to be here. And now every time I hear stuff about server components and crap, I'm like, holy crap, I'm the old guy now. Because I'm like, we've already completed this. Why are we working on this again?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Man, RSC is a whole nother thing. We shouldn't get started on that. I'm fascinated actually by RSCs because in some ways I actually think they're really smart. But boy, it's a tough path for them forward.
Tough path, man. Tough
Yeah.
path. So,
Yeah.
so things you're excited about. I'm excited to hear you speak at the conference. Tell
Let's do
everybody
that.
what you're talking about. What are you hoping that they could walk away with after hearing your talk, and let them know what they should know ahead of time for your talk.
Okay, so my talk is about high scale open social networks. And so if you're interested in learning a little bit ahead of time, look into the protocol that I work on, which is the app protocol. So appproto.com. And what I want people talking about afterwards is actually like what we were talking about earlier, like personal computing coming back, right? Like that possibility of like all this stuff that's coming together right now. Is it possible this is going to shift back to a world where like, hey, maybe people do make their own apps for themselves, and maybe we can connect to each other, running infrastructure that we actually run ourselves. Like how much further down that goal can we get with what's happening? And I think it's further like, who knows how far it'll go. There's probably always going to be like infra services out there, but any kind of moving the football down the field is worth taking a shot at. And so if you like the world of like personal computing, and you like the world of like being able to write your own software, then check out App Protocol and get excited about an open network and here's the kind of the fine point on it. An open network that's built for high scales. So it's open and you're not sacrificing being a part of the big open network.
Amazing, man. All of our speakers this year, they have really raised the bar. And I always tell people that they raised the bar once everything goes over my head. And I'm like, yep, I don't know anything about that. And because I consider myself a very plugged in guy, like knowing what's happening. But once I saw your talk and like 20 more talk, I said, yep, we have raised the bar. We have reached conference AGI, where
meeting the conference singularity. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we want to give away a ticket for those that are interested in coming to the conference this year, because we want to thank them for coming on our first edition of our show. Nobody knew how this would go, and we appreciate you coming up today, Paul. So everybody give
absolutely
Paul a round of applause with the clap emojis in the chat, please. The clap emoji in the chat. So I'm being told by marketing in the background that they're going to show a couple entries on the screen, and then we're going to pick one lucky winner today. But I'm going to break protocol. I'm going to break app protocol. See, I can be a plug right there.
Like it.
We're going to pick not just one, we're going to pick two. We're going to pick two because we had a great turnout today. And one of them will be for our GA pass, which gets you all the stuff to the conference, over 10 things to do. I'm sorry, over 10 moments at the conference. If you go to RenderATL.com and you click on the moments tab, you can see all the cool things included in your conference pass. We give you so much value that it is kind of mind-blowing that the finance team told me it's okay to give that much value into one pass. So that being said, we're going to give away one GA pass, and we're going to give away one gold pass, which we had just launched. Only 50 people in the whole conference will have this gold pass, and you will be one of them today if you are one of the chosen ones. So with that said, let's go and see who we're going to pick today to win. So let's see on the screen. Give me 1 second, y'all. It is our first day, so we got to just like wing this thing.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, cool. So let's see who is going to be chosen today. Said send what you want to learn to the chat. All right, I don't think that is fair. So I am going to make it even easier. Well, not easier, but let's get this party going. Whoever wants a GA pass, I want you to send an email to hello@renderatl.com. In the topic GA, and in the body, put what you are planning to learn at the conference this year. And for the gold pass, I same thing. In the subject line, put a gold, and in the body, what you are planning to learn this year at the conference. So send your email now. It'll be whoever gets there first gets the pass. A fair, equitable, easy. Hello at renderatl.com. A subject line GA, a body what you plan to learn. Subject line gold, a body what you plan to learn. First ones in each category wins. Paul, thank you a ton for coming out. I thank you to everybody that helped make this happen on your side. I thank you to Jim, who is helping you in the background. He is not up here, but I could see Jim in the back room. Thank you for helping make this happen. And thank you to Brianna, our head of marketing, who helped make this happen as well, because Lord knows. My calendar is just crazy, and I already know what yours is too. And so thank you a ton.
Thank you, man. I'm so excited to be seeing you again in August.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. And on that note, quick question: what food are you looking forward to the most once you come to Georgia?
Oh, barbecue for sure.
Barbecue. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, because I'm a Texas guy. I'm very curious to try some Southern barbecue. Some not Texas. Go a little bit more to the east. See how y'all do it.
Oh, okay. All right. I got some good barbecue coming your way, Paul. So I will look for you at the conference. Thank you again, everybody. And don't forget, hello at RenderATL.com. One category each, one person per category. Hope to I see you there at the conference, RenderATL, August 12th and August 13th.
Sounds good. See you there.
All right. I see y'all there. All right.